Hello, this is Arun Srinivasa. I am here to help you learn engineering mechanics and its use in structural design. We are going to learn about the equations of equilibrium for a rod. We are going to derive it. For that, you should know something about vectors, and please remember vectors are your friends. Okay, the prerequisites for it is some familiarity with vectors, and you should have seen these two-dimensional equations for a beam, because I'm going to quickly go through it as a review only. If you don't know that, please go to my playlist at Arun.Srinivasa and you will find the requisite information which could help you learn this thing. Okay, the primary task of engineering is to convert a seemingly impossible or very tough task into a boring procedure. So at the end of the day, you know, what looks impossible will just become a standard procedure. For example, whether it is launching a rocket. So watch this. You will see that's not a video playing backwards. The rocket is actually landing on a barge. This is from SpaceX, so you get an idea of what that can do. There you go. Or it could be to build a running Wildcat. So watch this one. This is from Boston Dynamics. Off it goes. Even this we can build. There it goes. Can you see it galloping? There you go. Can you see how it gallops? Okay. So please remember, we can do this also. But all of it requires you to think about this. You have to convert a seemingly impossible task into a boring procedure. This is our task. Okay, so now that you have an idea of what we're talking about, we're going to start with a very basic setup, rods and beams. You're used to beams, which are long, slender, straight objects like this, which deflect when subject to transverse loads. Okay, and you're very familiar with this kind of thing. However, a lot of objects are bent rods, have bent rods in them like this. You can see the exercise machine with the handlebar and all the bent shapes. You can see like a pin. You can see other kinds of rods, all are bent. But when they are subjected to forces, you will see that not only do they bend, they also twist. So simultaneous bending and twisting is what happens to many of these kinds of curved rods. Our primary task is predicting the behavior of beams and rods and when they will fail. We will review the governing equations for rods. This is similar to what you have seen in Mean 305 or Civil Engineering 305 or whatever you might call it, strength of materials. But we will derive it so that it combines all forms of loading, extension, bending, torsion into one unified equation. Okay, so that's really what we are planning to do. So you will see how this works. And it will be equally applicable to straight rods or bent rods. This will convert the seemingly impossible task of predicting how much a frame will deflect and or when it will fail into a boring procedure involving integration of step functions. That's all. You add value by A, knowing which boring procedure to use, and B, figuring out what to input and interpreting the result. So three things you have to know: which procedure to use, what to input into it, and can you interpret the results. The procedure of the actual steps of the procedure are useful to know. Sometimes you can do it by a calculator, sometimes you have to do it by hand, but that's pretty straightforward. That's the easy task. These three things are the hard ones. Okay, Before we go, we want to settle our notation so that we always follow the same thing. First, we will always use X, Y, and Z for coordinates, never for deflections. So when you see X, Y, or Z, you always know its coordinates. Deflections will always be written in terms of UX, UY, UZ. So when you see the letter U, you're thinking displacement or deflection. And typically we will try to use green arrows for it when we draw it. We may not always do it, but it's a general idea. When you see PX, PY, PZ like that, this is external forces on a beam or a rod. And typically we'll use blue arrows for external forces. CX, CY, CZ is external couples or moments or torques on a beam or a rod. And we will use two notations. The one with the zigzag is easier to draw and easier to imagine because you can see how it's getting turned. The other one is harder to do in 3D, which is like a curved arrow, but in 2D, it's not too bad. Internal forces on cut section of a beam will be written as Vx, Vy, Vz, and that's a red arrow. So V is for internal forces. And we are not just talking about shear forces. Axial forces will also be called V. Same thing with moments. Internal moments will be called capital M. External couples or moments will be called C. Internal moments will be called M. And we will not distinguish between torque and bending moment. They will all just be called M. Depending upon the situation, we'll have to identify whether it's a torque or a bending moment. Okay, so this is our symbols. My suggestion is pause for a minute, stare at it, and make sure you understand how the symbols work. Okay, very good. So I hope you paused and looked at it for a few seconds. Okay, now what you see is a rod, and it has lots of bent shapes and lots of different kinds of forces. You can see axial forces on the rod. You can see, transverse forces on the rod. You can also see torques, which are like these arrows which are going round and round. That's a torque. This is the counterpart of what you would see in a typical beam, except now it's a rod. So the coordinate along the beam was called X. But since this is a bent rod, the coordinate along the rod is called S. S as in Sam, S as you go through this rod. Okay? And the applied loads will, instead of being scalars, will now be vectors. P of S is the force vector, and couples are called C of X, C of S. Our analysis will be based on pretending that all the loads and couples are distributed, and we are going to use calculus. So we will never consider the case of concentrated loads. We are always going to consider the case of distributed loads. Why does that work? Because of singularity functions. So it does not matter whether it's concentrated or distributed. We can do calculus. That is why singularity functions are useful. Okay. So when you bend a beam, you know that the stresses in the beam, there is tensile stress and compressive stress, as you can see. There's a linear distribution of stress, sigma equal to A plus By. So A may be 0. I'm just showing you that A plus By is how the axial stresses will be. Normal stresses will look like that. By the way, linear normal stresses are called bending stress. It's not a new kind of stress. It's just stress distribution. So if your normal stress is distributed linearly, then it will be called a bending stress. Okay. Now, similarly, when I twist a beam, you will see that I will get shear stresses, again a linear distribution for circular beams. For non-circular beams, it will not be a linear distribution. Okay, it will be much more complicated. Only for circular beams, it happens to be linear, just like for axial loads. But please remember, that's only for circular beams. The situation is a bit more complicated for internal stresses in a rod. Internal loads on the positive face will have positive sign, and loads on negative faces will have negative sign. So on the positive cut face, like what I've shown you, the distribution of internal stresses will be linear. Looks like sigma equals to A plus By plus Cz, because X is the component, A plus By plus Cz. So it's just linear distribution across the cross section. It looks like that. Some places will be pushed, some places will be pulled. the shear stress distribution will be in a circle. Okay, it will circulate around. Some regions will be more heavily loaded. You can see these regions are more heavily loaded, those regions, compared to the others. So there's a net downward force as well as a twisting force. Okay, so these are the two kinds of forces that will show up in a rod when it is subjected to random forces on this. Okay, so what happens because of this? The resulting force will cause axial stresses will cause axial force, bending moment in the z direction, bending moment in the y direction. So remember that normal stresses will cause two bending moments and one axial force. Normal stresses cannot cause torsional moment or shear forces. They can only cause axial forces and bending moments. The shear stresses on a cross section cause an axial moment or torque and shear forces Vx and Vy. So here's a shear stress on the cross section, and that will cause axial torque, twisting, and then two shear forces. Shear stresses cannot cause bending moment, nor can it cause axial forces. So remember that. The nice thing is, for convenience, we are going to combine the axial force and the two shear forces into a force vector V. So Vx is the axial force, Vy and Vz are the shear forces. All of them are combined together. Same way, the net moments are combined into a single moment vector. So the two bending moments and the torque are combined into a single moment vector. So that is how we package these things in a very nice way so that we can draw very easily. Now we can draw free body diagrams based on these things. 3 axial force components, 3 moment components. So we are now going to draw this in a vector version. Okay, so we start out by taking a rod and slicing it, and we take a chunk. There you can see I sliced the rod and took a chunk. When we cut a rod, there is a positive side cut and a negative side cut. The positive side cut is the one where the exposed face points in the direction of increasing coordinate S. The negative side cut is the one where the exposed face points in the direction of decreasing coordinate S. The vector along the slice will have a length ds and direction E. Can you see that? The direction of the vector is E, its length is ds. The rod will be subjected to external loads PSDS and external couples CSDS as shown. Okay, but on the faces also there will be forces, and now you will see all the Newton's third law showing up. So now on the faces, what we have is that on the positive face, we have forces V plus dV and M plus dM on the positive face here. The corresponding ones on the negative face of the remaining piece will be minus M plus dM and minus V plus dV. These two things are because of Newton's third law. Same way on the negative face, it will be called minus M and minus V. And on the positive face here, it will be M and V. So notice that this is also due to Newton's third law. Okay. So now our chunk has red arrows and blue arrows. Red arrows are the internal forces. Blue arrows are the external forces. Okay. The vectors are all negative on all the negative faces, irrespective of whether it's a cut section or the remaining section. Vectors are always positive on the positive faces. This is how our sign convention for faces works. The key point is the following. Equilibrium tells us that the red arrows, which are the internal forces and moments, must balance out the blue arrows, which are the external forces and couples. Here, I don't mean blue arrows on the cut piece, I mean blue arrows on the chunk. Everything is I'm talking about is for the chunk. Okay, so now let's see what happens. Here it is. Okay, so forget about the leftover piece, just let's look at just the cut. So we are going to sum all the force vectors and get V equal to 0. So let's see. I have V plus dV is a force vector, minus V is another force vector, PS ds equal to force vector. All of them are summed to 0. Moment vectors, when we sum, we have both concentrated moments, you know, the ones with the zigzag on them, as well as moments due to the forces, and we have to count both of them. And we are going to take moments around the positive phase, the right hand side phase or the positive phase. So we're going to take moments around this point. Okay, when we take moments around this point, so remember that moments around the positive phase. Okay, so what's going to happen? That's a concentrated moment, m plus dm. There's the negative moment from the other side, and then I have to do the cross product of these two things. EDS is the arm, moment arm, and minus V is the force. So minus V cross minus EDS, or sorry, minus EDS cross minus V, or cross F. Okay, that's how much moment will be there. And then all the concentrated moments will add up, and that's how you get 0. Please remember, we are ignoring quadratic terms. You can say, what happened to this PFSDS? What about the moment of that? Well, if you look at it and if you compute it, it will turn out to be a quadratic term. And the quadratic terms will go away when I divide by ds and take limits. So we're going to divide by ds and take limit. And let's see what we get. If I divide by ds and take limits, and I will get dvds plus pfs equal to 0. Somehow disappeared here. You remember that minus v was there, somehow disappeared, but it's there. Okay. And then dmds, the m and m will get cancelled. And I'm going to divide through by ds, and I'll get dmds minus E cross minus V will become plus E cross V, and then I'll get plus C. So these are my governing equations. And believe me, it has axial forces, bending moments, torque, everything built in. Okay, everything is there. It's quite similar to the usual beam equations, which are dvdx plus p equal to 0 and dmdx plus v equal to 0. But there's some cross product and some extra terms that are not exactly the same as you're used to, but you will see that it will account for everything in a very sensible way. Okay, this is how you should remember the beam equations, not the way they teach you in your earlier classes. It's much better to remember this one. Okay, so because it's so important, I want you to memorize this slide and tattoo it into your brain. Okay, this is the beam equations. We really need it. And if you memorize it, you can do a lot. So vector sum of external forces plus internal forces equal to 0. That's equation number 1. What do I mean by that? That becomes integral of PSDS plus V equal to 0. So let's make sure we understand what these terms mean. This is the sum of external forces, integral PSDS. And that's the internal force. So sum of all the vector external forces plus internal force equal to 0. Its derivative version looks like this. dvds plus ps equal to 0. If I differentiate both sides, you'll get that. Okay. Vector sum of external moments plus moment of internal forces plus internal moments equal to 0. Notice that there are 3 components. The vector sum of the external moments, moment of the internal forces, and internal moments. So we're going to do this in that sequence. There it is. Okay, let's make sure we understand the terms. That's the vector sum of all the external comments. You can see the S is for sum, S is for integral. So that's the vector sum of all the external moments. This is the moment of all the internal forces, E cross V. And this is the internal moment. So this is my equation. Of course, if I differentiate with respect to S, you will get this. dmds plus Es cross Vs plus C of S equal to 0. So you need to remember this equation. You know, you cannot get around the world without knowing some things. Without knowing facts, you cannot reason. So these are the facts that you need to know. Excellent. We are done with this part. Now it's time for you to test your understanding. So this is a quiz. So first, describe in your own words, what is the difference between a rod and a beam? What is the sign convention for the cross sections? How does it affect the external forces? And how does it affect the internal forces and moments? State in words, what are the 2 conditions for equation of equilibrium of a beam? Can you write down from the previous statement, from the words that you wrote, can you write down from memory, what are the governing equations, integral or differential form? So please remember, I don't want you to look it up and write. Try and see what you remember. Practice until you can write down the governing equations in vector form for a beam without having to look it up. Okay, this is important. Test some more. Test true or false. If it is false, state the correct version. So number one statement that I'm making is normal stresses in a beam will be linear across the cross section. True or false? Shear stresses in a beam will be linear across the cross section. True or false? How many net force and moment components are caused by the normal force stresses? What are they called? How many net force and moment components are caused by the shear stresses? What are they called? The next problem is high in Bloom's taxonomy, and you need to think about it a bit. At a particular point in a beam, the normal to the cut positive surface is pointing in the z direction. The force vector on that face is V equal to 3I plus 7J plus 2K kips. You know, kip is kilopounds. What is the net normal force and what's the net shear force? So I've given you the force vector. You got to find out normal force and shear force. The normal direction is the z direction. Same way, I'm going to give you the moment vector. M equal to 2I plus 3J plus 4K kip inch. What is the net bending moment and torque? For a hint, look at the figure in the previous slide and see if you can use basic vector algebra to figure this out. Be careful about the axis. Think about that a little bit. Okay. Thank you very much. If you can do all of this, you have now understood this part of the class. Thank you.